First things first, I know it's been quite a while since I made a video about a bark river. Once upon a time my channel was pretty much 100% bark river, and I'm gonna admit that I've been trying out some different brands and makers, getting more and more into folders, also doing a lot of axe related videos, but I have not forgotten my roots, so to say. I am still very much a fan of Bark River, and it is like the one brand that I keep getting back to. So you're actually gonna see a lot more Bark River videos in the foreseeable future. So what we have here is one of those knives that I've been waiting to pick up for a while. I made my pre-order like a really long time ago, probably like over a year ago. There were some issues getting the steel, etc. And when the knife was finalized, I had a lot of other knives in the pipeline. So I decided to push this one a bit since there was no real rush. But now, like last week, I finally got this one in one of my DLT orders. So I got this one, and I got one of the newly made squad leaders in 3V, so that is a video I'm gonna make as well. But right now let's focus on this little thing here. So as you can see, this is not a large knife. There will be videos of large knives as well. I have not forgotten about the Golok 2, and I have not forgotten about the JNAP. I'm gonna get both of them. We're gonna do some comparison videos, etc. But for now, let's focus on something really, really small, which is the city knife. And the city knife will be delivered with this exact sheath that you can see here. The very same sheath used for the Rascal prototype and probably some other small models made by Bark River. But it's kind of a simple but useful sheath design. Not really much to it. I've treated this one with Obenauf's heavy leather protection, as I do with all of my sheaths that I get from Bark River. They say that it's not necessary to do that, but I kind of like it. I've had good results, and I also like the finishing on the leather that you get by using that leather protection. So let's take a look at this knife now. Like I said, it's not a large knife, and as you can see, it is my standard pink G10 black liners and mosaic pins configuration. And the steel used for this one is Elmax, and there was some issues getting the Elmax steel way back when it was on order. Today we're going to see much more blades in CPM S45 VN, which is sort of the equivalent to Elmax. So that is a steel type you will see used on many Bark Rivers in the future. I think I did a video before about the Minigane, which was my first experience with S45 VN. And it seems to be a lot like Elmax. So in other words, you get good edge retention, you get a fairly corrosion resistant steel, but the steel is maybe not the absolute toughest. But I prefer edge retention over toughness, especially with a knife of this size. But I mean, sure, you're gonna have to work a bit more to get it sharp again if you manage to completely dull it. But if you maintain it a bit using a strop or something like that, you shouldn't have too much issues to begin with. So looking at this blade here, we have a overall length of around 6 inches with a blade length of around 2.5 inches. The blade thickness on this one is, let's see if we can get the entire here, is 0.120 inches. And the weight of this one should be 3.3 ounces, or that is what the weight is specified. But we can actually put it on a scale to see the exact weight here. Let's see. So in grams, 94 grams. Can of course go with ounces as well. 3.3 ounces. So that was pretty much spot on. But there will be slight variations in weight depending on the handle material, etc. But then again, there is so little, material used for a knife this size. So it's going to be, a really small, range of weight, so to say. And that is about it for the actual specs, I reckon. In my hand, I wear size 10 gloves. I have, fairly large hands, I guess. And this is a fairly small knife. So if I put it in my hand, this is what it will look like. Full 4-finger grip. If you want to use this kind of grip with the thumb here on the spine, this, your little finger is gonna be not on the actual handle. Not a big issue, since this handle is, it is rounded. It's still, perhaps slight, not really, sharp, but it's not really, rounded like this. This could be modified with some sandpaper for those who want it to be, completely round or rounded off. But in my opinion, I have no need for that. I won't get any, hot spots or sore fingers or sore hand using this knife. That just won't happen. So I think the handle comfort, especially given the size, is incredibly well. I'm happy they decided to go with such a long handle for a such a small knife. Great decision on the design, and the design itself. This is a bit Bob Loveless inspired, and the design. I think Bark River first made this. I can't really remember, to be honest, but it was quite some time ago. And this new run, I don't remember fully what made them go with this new run again. But sometimes, with some models there's a decrease and then there's an increase in interest. And right now there was an increase in interest, and that is why they decided to once again produce it. Much to my liking, since I am getting more and more and more into smaller size blades. I still like the really large knives, you guys know that, but sometimes it is nice and practical with something that carries very easily, like this one. And that is not a folder. Sometimes you want a small fixed blades. They do have some advantages over a folder. Then again, a folder can have some advantages over a small knife. So it's you win some, or you gain some and you lose some, depending on design. Let's see. I think that I really think it could be wise to do a small size comparison. So I think that's gonna be our next segment in this video. And once we've done the comparison to the other models, then we can go into more practical aspects, start testing out the sharpness of the blade, doing some different sharpness tests, and after that we can put it to some other use. But for now, let's go with a size comparison. So I'm gonna adjust the camera a bit here and present some other models. For this size comparison, I have decided to pull out a few different knives, all made by Bark River and all in my Ping G10 setting. There are a few other knives that I could have included here. Thinking about, I should have maybe thrown in the little carver, but it doesn't really matter. This will still give you a fairly good idea of the size of the city knife. So the city knife being this one, put it like that. Here we have the prototype Rascal in LMAX. This later got turned into the Rascal 2, which I sadly didn't pick up. Big mistake, but I hope it will be made again. Perhaps in S45VN, who knows. Here we have the PSK EDC. So now we're getting a little bit of a step up in size. So I mean, these two are sort of similarly sized, but still the Rascal is the smaller blade. With the Chorlier you did get some extra, handle length, but still, quite different designs overall. So let's put these back here, hopefully visible in the camera still. And like I said, the PSK EDC being the larger blade, longer handle. Next up in size, we have the Fingerling, a very different design also from the knives we have already taken a look at. But once again, you get quite a difference in blade length and also in handle length. Then we have the JX6, and now we're getting into like really, bigger, heavier models. Then we have the very classic, no wait, my bad. Well, still a classic for some perhaps, but this is the Mountaineer 2. Really stout blade, kind of on the heavy side. I mean, comparing these two, it's a bit of a difference in size, wouldn't you say? Bit of a difference in blade thickness, not too much, but this is definitely a much heavier, larger knife than the small city knife. Then we have the classic, the ultralight bushcrafter, the ULB. So I guess that this is perhaps one of those knives that a lot of people have, so this could be a comparison that many can relate to, of sorts. So lots of more handle space, lots of more blade length. And the spine thickness is actually thinner on the ultralight bushcrafter than on the city knife. So the city knife is a more compact, stout blade than the ULB. Then we have another classic, or to me it is a classic blade at least, the Mini Aurora. Also a knife that I think that a lot of people have, and that can make for a pretty good comparison as well. More of an equal stock or spine thickness here, although out of focus, I realized that, but I love the Aurora, Mini Aurora handle. It's super comfortable to me. Then we have one of those knives that I never really, got into, and that is the Adventurer 2. I mean, while being a comfortable knife and all that, it's still, you know, it's a bit too different for me. Still, I'm not gonna let go of it. I mean, it's an interesting piece to own, but it's a blade that I rarely use. But yeah, it's a very different knife compared to the City knife. Last but not least, we have the Donnybrook. Also a very different design from these blades, but but I really got to say that. Maybe I can zoom in a bit and we can get a better look at the knives, you know, side by side. But I will say that the City knife has surprisingly good ergos for such a small knife. I think that is something that they really, you know, achieved, which is quite nice. But I'm gonna see if we can get a better view of the blades here. Give me 1 second. Here we have a slightly better look at the blades and the different sizes. So I'm gonna go over it real fast again here. We have the Rascal prototype, the City knife, the PSK EDC, the Fingerling, the JX6, the Mountaineer 2, the ULB or Ultralight Bushcrafter, Mini Aurora, Adventurer 2 and Donnybrook. So this should give you a better, you know, better understanding of the size of the City knife, and perhaps also of some other models while we're at it. And I would say that if I had a little carver here, I would have placed it probably here. In fact, I think I'm gonna go and grab it just to be able to do that. Give me 1 second. So I'm back with the little carver. I also realized I could have thrown in like the Tusk and the Mini Kalahari and some other models, and maybe some slightly larger like the Mini Gunny and Kitsune, and maybe some other stuff, but we have to limit us somewhere. But this is the little carver. So it is more in size with the Rascal prototype than with the City knife. So I think this is probably it for the comparison. I think it covers it pretty well. So let's move on with some other things like sharpness tests. Next up, we have the sharpness test. We have already gone over the specs and, you know, the general overview. We have compared this knife to a few other small models made by Bark River, but now it's time to put the edge to the test and see how sharp this little Elmax beast really is. And we're gonna use some magazine paper, what I usually use for my tests. We also have some printing paper, regular printing paper, and we also have some newspaper to try. And I think we're gonna start with the printing paper. Let's, say that this type of paper is actually semi-tricky to slice sometimes, compared to even thinner types of paper. And I'm not sure quite why that is, but it is. So it will slice printing paper, and like I said, it's not really the easiest paper to slice. Probably due to something with the fibers in the paper, I guess. But as you can see, it will still turn it into tiny pieces. Yeah, I think this is probably enough for the printing paper. Shredded. So let's go with some magazine paper now as our next sharpness test. Can do one more page. So as you can probably see, the knife will slice the magazine paper effortless with nice clean cuts. So that's one final. So, slicing magazine paper is a cakewalk for this one. Let's make it a bit more challenging now, using the newspaper paper here. Let's see. This is really, this will be probably a bit more interesting, I'd say. Oh. This is actually very impressive. Very, very impressive. Really nice clean cuts. Wow. I mean, I think we all know that bark rivers usually come very sharp. I mean, it's what they do. They make sharp knives. But this is actually like a small laser cutting this newspaper. I mean, this is really, you know, well, I am pretty impressed, at least. It's not all knives you can do this with out of the box, you know. Oh. So this was actually probably the most impressive feat of this knife. Yeah, really impressive sharpness. So when slicing, I mean, it's only limited by its small or by its, you know, short blade length. Otherwise, we could have done some really, you know, long, nice slices. But when you have a blade length of this, like this, then you are semi-limited. Good stuff. Very sharp. We have now reached the final part of the sharpness test, which is shaving some leg and or arm hair. And I do not have a whole lot of arm hair, and I do not think I have a ton of leg hair, because that is something that I use for all my sharpness tests in general. So we will see what we can find, sort of. No, really, not a whole lot, you know. Yeah. So we have a tiny bit here of leg hair, perhaps. Can this be visible even? I'm not sure, but we'll see what we can do. I mean, there's not a lot of hair to remove, but I mean, in terms of, you know, does it shave? Yeah, I mean, it does shave a bit. It wasn't really, you know, hair popping sharp, to be honest, but it did. It still did shave some hair off my leg. So I mean, that is good, I guess. And like I said, you know, knives can be, well, maybe I didn't say it in this video perhaps, but knives can be sharp in different ways. I mean, we know this is a sharp knife from the different tests we've done before, slicing those paper types, etc. But when shaving hair, you know, sometimes, you know, you really, you know, you get it to pop off the hairs, then you know it's a really sharp knife as well. Otherwise, it's just, you know, the peer pressure, you know, pressing down on the hair and then just, you know, kind of, to say it removes it with force sounds kind of strange, but there is a difference between shaving and shaving, so to say. But even so, we did manage to shave a bit of hair off, but it wasn't a super smooth hair popping experience, if I put it like that. But it is a sharp knife, absolutely. Next up, and before we head out into the woods, we're gonna do some random food prep or slicing. Some grapes, a tomato, an apple, and a orange. I might have a few more apples so we can try to peel an apple, maybe when we're out in the woods. But right now let's do some slicing here and see how the knife performs. I just realized that I didn't do any arm or leg hair shaving test. Usually don't have a whole lot of hair on my arms and legs due to doing all these sharpness tests, but that will be for later. So let's start doing something here. Maybe we can start with these small grapes, cutting them into nice pieces and slices, and well, I'm not quite sure. They're pretty soft, so we will see how it goes. Yeah. Fairly thin piece of grape. Can do some slightly thicker pieces as well. So I'm not quite sure how many people eat grapes like this, but well, if there are any, this knife can be quite a good grape slicer of sorts. Can do on the other like this. Oh, yeah. So let's try something different. Let's just go with a few pieces like this. And then finally, I'm not quite sure really. I mean, how many ways can you cut a grape? Good question. So I think this is it for the grape cutting test. As you can see, it did pretty well. Move these away for now. There we go, and let's go with something else. Let's see, maybe we can go with a tomato. So this is when it gets semi-interesting with the actual blade length of the knife. I mean, it should be almost sufficient for this tomato. It will be more interesting with orange, but yeah, let's see, what do we want to do? Yeah, let's just go like this. You are slightly limited here by the length of the knife. Not gonna lie. So that gives us, didn't go very thin here, but it doesn't really matter. Running out of space to place my hands. But there we have a sliced up piece of tomato. And now we can, yeah, I'm honestly not sure what to do with this one. Maybe we can try some thinner slices. See how many we can get. Quite many, I think. Let's do something else. So we got some, I don't really know what we have going on here, but I will say that City Knife did pass the tomato slicing test of sorts here. And I'm not gonna eat this because it's just a mess of sorts. So let's go with the orange now. This is interesting because we obviously have not enough blade length to cut it, right in half, but regardless, we will do something. Some small slices of orange. And with this we can try to do something else. So it will slice. It will slice an orange. We can try. Is there anything else we can do here? Perhaps. We can remove the meat here. Or just, I don't know. Then we can slice them up in small pieces for a fruit salad. So I mean, despite the small size of the knife, you can still process an orange pretty well with it. That's for sure. So that's probably it for the orange test of sorts. Let's see, with these. Last but not least, we have an apple. I'm not sure what we're gonna do with the apple, really, but if I can find one more, and I think I do have one or two more, we can bring them with us to peel them somewhere out in the woods when we leave. But right now we can just, yeah, I don't really know actually. Cutting an apple is a bit interesting. Let's see. Actually, yeah, we broke it off instead of cutting it like that. Remove the kernels now. Well, let's take a bit more than what is actually necessary, but just, you know, to be sure to get it all, more or less, all out. Maybe make, you know, like an apple pie. Gonna need a bit thicker pieces than what I'm cutting right here now. Or like that. I said that these, you know, these will work for making an apple pie. Could have even been, you know, these could have been even maybe slightly thicker, to be honest, but they'll definitely, you know, get the job done. So then we can do some other types of slices here, perhaps, or maybe, I don't know. Just, you know, small pieces like this. Once again, you know, these are good pieces for a fruit salad. I could go, you know, even smaller actually. Just, you know. Let's see, should we try to not sure. Maybe. But we're gonna peel an apple anyways later on. Let's just chop this up. So, I mean, processing an apple, making an apple pie, if this is the only knife you got, then you will be able to work it. I mean, some extra cutting length could be nice in the kitchen, working with certain fruits and vegetables, working with meat as well. But in terms of, you know, if it will do the job, I mean, it will do the job, as can be seen here. Absolutely. Some really, you know, small pieces here. So apple, orange, grape, tomato, it will all work. Is it the absolute best knife for it? Well, perhaps not, but I mean it is stainless and it is small, and I think that, you know, the trade-off is that I mean, if you want a small blade, there's going to be a trade-off, but it's still going to be functional, you know. Carries, I mean, you won't even notice you're carrying this knife, so that could be a selling point, I reckon. But this is it for the food prep segment. So now we can head out and maybe do some feathers, maybe shave some leg hair or peel an apple. Probably not gonna do a ton of batooning, but yeah. We are now out in the woods. It's getting a little bit dark, but I hope I will be able to make some video recordings. And I do have my ever so trusty little storm lantern with me, blessing me with its light and warmth. With me I also have, of course, the little city knife, which I hope will be able to make some feathers here from these pieces of pine. And then we can make maybe a campfire or just head back home once we've done the video shooting that we want. So let me just set this thing up here and we can proceed with some feather sticking and light carving. And about the question, why would I bring a city knife into the woods? Well, because I can. So it's getting dark or darker by the minute. I'm not 100% sure how well my camera can cope with this low light conditions. Even so, we're gonna try to make some random feathers here. It should be visible, or I hope it will be visible in the camera. Otherwise, I will just redo it tomorrow. But let's see what we can do here. Maybe adjust the camera just a tad bit. Perhaps like that. Do we need to zoom in as well? Maybe a little. Okay, let's see. I mean, this knife is probably not, you know, it's not a bushcraft knife. It is called a city knife for a reason, but I still want to try, you know, just shaving off some bark here and at least trying to do some feathers. It has, you know, quite a bite to it, so that is interesting. Wait, so it bites kind of deep into the wood here. Gonna remove this. We're gonna get a fine tip at least, but no real, you know, no real feathers like that. I mean, sure, you could throw this one in the fire, but you want something finer to actually get a fire going. But if you want to make a small, you know, wooden spear here and put something on top of the fire, then I mean, then you can definitely 100% make that pointy, yeah. Maybe we should try to make a notch or something in this piece of wood as well. You could probably turn this one into a toothpick as well. But let's go for a small notch somewhere, perhaps here. Hopefully visible. Yeah, let's go with it here. remove some of the bark. Yeah, well, let's use the spine to just remove some of this fairly loose bark. So we did make a small notch area here. Wasn't very, difficult. Let's see if we can remove some more bark. And we did let's make this slightly finer. So now we're getting a fairly thin, not very strong tip here. This could perhaps work as a toothpick of sorts, I'd say. So carving a notch like this, making a spear point, making a toothpick, not much of an issue, not that difficult, but we have yet to make some decent feathers. Let's do some small chopping. That's about as much chopping as you will see in this particular video. Should we try to get some feathers from this one? I'm not sure. Let's see, this is actually also pine, but let's give it a try. I just want to, it doesn't really want to make feathers, it wants to bite hard and deep and shave. And I mean, that's not a bad thing, you see. I mean, I can easily process this tree with the knife. It's just that making actual feathers is proven to be much more of a challenge. But this is an impressive feat in itself, our feature. Because this was actually quite a large piece of wood. Quite a, stirred the piece. And we turned it into a spear here pretty fast. Yeah. Not bad. So we have yet to make any feathers, but we have been able to do some carving, and it actually, you know, performs surprisingly well for that kind of, you know, for that kind of work. But feathers, for some reason, seems to be tricky. Unless we can make some really fine feathers from this. If we can get in focus, which maybe we can, maybe we cannot. Not quite sure. It bites deep. Actually a really nice knife to work with, you know, just sitting like this and doing some fine tip work, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So maybe there won't be much feathers tonight. I can't say if it is, you know, because of the tree types I'm using, or if it is because of the grind, or whatever it is. But I will say that it is a nice knife to carve in wood with. That is for sure. You can get some really nice, you know, precision going on. Once again, this knife is called the city knife. It's not called the woods knife, so something to keep in mind, I reckon. I'm probably gonna head back home, but I'll see if I make a segment with another attempt at feather sticking, or if I just settle with this. We are out in the woods again today. Yesterday we tried the city knife out, doing some carving and attempts at feather sticking. And while we could make some sort of feathers, they were not really, you know, the absolute finest. So I'm gonna say that, you know, it's probably not due to the different kinds of wood or, you know, tree types you can find. But I do have some other types of tree here that is not pine. Just so we can give it a try, but you know, it's different knives have different kinds of designs and geometry of the blade, and that is probably the case with the city knife. That it is a sharp knife that bites well, but might not be the absolute best knife for feather sticking. But let's give it a go. I'm gonna zoom in here. Let's give it a go here on these other types of wood, and we will see, you know, if there is any difference in the feathering department. Hopefully visible. But it still wants to bite kind of deep, but we are getting, in my opinion, some slightly better feathers from this drier piece of wood. Yesterday the wood was a bit more fresh and wet and damp, which could explain why it was perhaps not the absolute best type of wood to make feathers from. And you know, when you make feathers, you don't want, you know, really, you know, damp wood or anything like that, because you want to be able to put it on fire as easy as possible. So you want, you know, kind of dry dead wood to work with. So this is much better than the attempts from yesterday, I'd say. Actually pretty good. Let's put it there. Maybe we can try another type as well. Oh, this actually looks like pine. Yeah, let's try this regardless. Maybe it's a bit drier than the piece yesterday, or maybe not. It's not, you know, I mean, it's not bad, but not really, you know, that good either. I think this is probably a better piece, like, once again, for actual, you know, carving, if you want to get it, you know, more like a wooden spear-like of sorts. Yeah. You know, making fine tips or toothpicks, that is something you will be able to do with this knife, and quite easily at that. But feathering, let's go with this piece perhaps. That is a bit trickier. It is doable, but it's not the easiest thing here. I mean, sure, you can manage to get these small curly things, but like I said, it's the grind of the blade makes it slightly more challenging. I mean, I do not doubt that I would be able to get enough feathers, you know, and enough good feathers to actually get a fire started. But this is not like, you know, the ultralight bushcrafter. But making like a barbecue skewer or something like that, that would be easy. But this, slightly more of a challenge. Well, I mean, this could still work. If you happen to hike in the woods and the only knife you have with you is the city knife, well, I mean, you're not, you know, in a super tricky situation. You're just gonna have to work a bit harder for it. Here we have an apple. I spoke about that in a previous segment of the video where I was gonna use the ultralight, the city knife to peel an apple. And that is what we're gonna do next. So yeah, not strong enough. Anyway, let's try to peel an apple on camera. So here we kinda go, maybe, oh, this is a bit like that perhaps. And I will say this, that I am not, you know, an apple peeling expert regardless of knife, but I will try to do my best, or to the best of my ability, that is. So let's see what we can accomplish here with this green apple. So yeah, here we go. I was kind of going for more than, you know, one circle, but let's see if we can redeem ourselves or not. Like I said, I am no peeling expert in any way at all. Still trying to, you know, get the hang of it somewhat. I'm also trying to understand, you know, the purpose of why anyone would want to peel an apple, especially out in the woods. But yeah. Other than that, you know, really hate the taste of the apple peel, but yeah, I don't know. Slowly but surely, right? Some fine tuning here and there, but I mean, I think this will. Oh, I hope I was semi-visible in the camera. Maybe I was sitting like this, I don't know. But I don't know how long this took, probably like 2-3 minutes. But we do have a peeled apple now, so yeah, that's good, right? All in the name of science, because I am not going to eat this one right now, so we will give it to the animals. Same with the actual apple peel here, that will go to the wild animals out in the woods. So now we have done some woodwork, we have done some sharpness tests, we have peeled an apple, we've been slicing fruits and vegetables, and I think we are, coming to the conclusion of this video. My thoughts about the City knife is that it is a really nice, small, comfortable knife in a great steel. I like Elmax, which is now being replaced by S45 VN in newer models, but they are about equal in steel properties and characteristics. So I mean, Elmax, S45 VN, same, different name, sort of. Just the American version compared to the Swedish version, the Swedish being Elmax. But I think this is a really nice knife. Great comforts for being such a small knife. An excellent carver, interestingly enough. Definitely not limited to city life, just opening packages, slicing boxes, cutting cords and stuff like that, and tape. This is a knife you can use like a good all-arounder. If you're looking for the perfect bushcraft knife or the perfect feather sticker, this might not be it, especially on the feather stick part. But for other things like making notches or making spears or making whatever, I mean, it is a good carver, so I've got to give it to that. So maybe it's just the feather sticking part that it's not the absolute best. From my experience with this knife, do I recommend it? Yeah, I mean, I definitely recommend it. I kind of wish I had the essential 1 and 2 for that matter, but the essential one, because they sort of share some similarities. I think I'll try to get my hands on a Bark River Essential. Long overdue. This was also long overdue, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video review. But if you're looking for a nice small light carry with great handle ergos, good steel edge retention, and for people that say that, well, you can't really use Elmax knives with thin blades like this out in the woods, well, I beg to differ, because this one has held up quite well, and I've done a lot of woodwork with it by now. So do not fear the steel for that. Is there anything I need to say more? Good question. I don't think there is. I think we have gone over pretty much everything about this model by now. Really nice knife. I'm not sure how many there are left out there. Like I said, I was late to this party, but there should still be some to pick from. I'm gonna post a link in the description to where you can pick one up, or where you can hopefully pick one up. And I think that's it for now. Yeah, over and out.